There's a medic right here if you need help.
What is it? She got shot in the fucking. Shot in the front? All right, we're gonna go over here behind cover. I need cover. I need cover.
You said I'm not police. Huh? Is that true? Oh, the business.
I am an EMT. You are injured. Time to live.
That's the business owners up there, y'all. That ain't the police.
You got any injuries?
Yeah, right over here.
Bring them over here. We got a medic.
No, she's right behind you.
Oh,
Thank you. You got nailed with a projectile. No.
That when Secretary Cheney went to visit, Secretary of Defense went to visit Saudi Arabia the day after the Saddam invaded Kuwait, that was the question. Was the United States going to really defend Saudi Arabia, or were we going to do what Jimmy Carter did and send a squadron of F-15s over unarmed? You know, when we said, no, we're coming here in force to defend Saudi Arabia, that's when he said, yes, please go ahead and defend us.
There was another question, which was, would the Saudi Arabian government relax its opposition, which it had maintained over the last 4 presidencies, to having a permanent American military base on the Arabian Peninsula? It had always been opposed to having this station before. It won't be opposed to it anymore.
Oh, yes, it will.
This is what comes, though, of mistaking the credibility of America, the United States, with the credibility of George Bush. George Bush's face is one thing, and it's a political question. He's made it now an international one. But it doesn't mean we have to do so.
Boca Raton, Florida. Go ahead, please.
Good morning, Brian.
Good morning.
You didn't have to work very hard to get the program going this morning, did you? This was
no problem.
You showed admirable restraint, Brian.
No, it's very enjoyable to listen to these two.
I have a proposition, Brian, that I'd like to put before these two gentlemen and have them comment on it. It's not frivolous at all. I really think it's our problem. A long time ago, a gentleman named Wilson, who happened to be the chairman of the board, I think, of General Motors, said that what's good for General Motors is good for America. I think we're living today under an administration and a political bunch of people who think that what's good for the military-industrial complex and big oil is good for America. One other comment, I'd just like to talk about the 2 magazines. I currently subscribe to the New Republic, and I think I thought I was getting the Nation when I put in my, I'm going to go for the Nation right now. I'd like to listen to your comments, please.
All right, thanks. Morton?
I thought when you mentioned the gentleman named Wilson that you were going to refer to Woodrow Wilson, because it seems to me that George Bush, when he talks about the New World Order, is more in the tradition of Woodrow Wilson than he is Charlie Wilson. The military budget, now that the Cold War is over, and prior to Saddam's invasion of Kuwait, the military budget of the United States was going to go down. It is going to go down. The Army is going to shrink. Why is the Army going to shrink? Because the Soviet Union has got its troops out of Europe. For 40 years, we have been defending democracies in Western Europe. We don't have to do that as much anymore, and so the military-industrial complex is going to take a deep hit.
In the discussion that Ambassador Glaspie, who we keep mentioning, had with Saddam Hussein at the end of July, when she said that the US had no opinion on the border dispute with Kuwait, she has a very interesting little moment where she says to Saddam Hussein, they're talking about the oil price. She says, yes, we've got lots of people in America who wouldn't mind a higher oil price either, funnily enough. Many of them come from oil-producing states, that's probably why.
Charlottesville, Virginia is next. Go ahead.
Yes, good morning.
Good morning.
Is Mr. Edelman feels that the CIA was not aware that there was going to be a war in the Gulf, then he must not have gotten a copy of the paper that the Council of Foreign Relations sent to its members. They came out with a paper early last summer, long before Saddam Hussein invaded Kuwait, stating that they were going to reshape the Middle East. Saddam Hussein would have to go, and the ruling family of Kuwait, because they were standing in the way of the New World Order, which is just a fancy word for one world government. Thank you.
Caller, are you a member of the Council of Foreign... Well, I assume she got the paper. Do you know what she's talking about?
I don't know if she does either.
Until now, the world we've known has been a world divided, a world of barbed wire and concrete block, conflict, Cold War. Now we can see a new world coming into view, a world in which there is the very real prospect of a new world order. In the words of Winston Churchill, a world order in which the principles of justice and fair play protect the weak against the strong. A world where the United Nations, freed from Cold War stalemate, is poised to fulfill the historic vision of its founders. A world in which freedom and respect for human rights find a home among all nations. The Gulf War put this new world to its first test. And my fellow Americans, we passed that test. For the sake of our principles, for the sake of the Kuwaiti people, we stood our ground, because the world would not look the other way. Ambassador 𝙁𝐶𝐵, tonight, Kuwait is free. Where is it? We are very happy about that. Tonight, as our troops begin to come home, let us recognize that the hard work of freedom still calls us forward. We've learned the hard lessons of history. The victory over Iraq was not waged as a war to end all wars. Even the New World Order cannot guarantee an era of perpetual peace, but enduring peace must be our mission. Our success in the Gulf will shape not only the New World Order we seek, but our mission here at home.
Well, stand here or sit down? It's up to you.
Thank you, Mr. Prime Minister. A questioner asks, President Bush's call for a new world order under law has been variously interpreted. From your perspective, what do you believe the broad goals should be in a new world order?
That's a new speech, although a slightly longer one. Well, the first condition for new world order is clearly to get rid of the old one. And that is to a certain extent completed. You might find the odd example of countries and regions where the process hasn't been concluded. Well, Cuba, to take one example. But on the whole, the old order is gone when it comes to establishing the new order. Well, what I've been stressing in all of my talks here is that a precondition for a new world order being stable is stability in all of the areas that were so seriously affected by the Soviet Union and by Soviet policies and by the Soviet Empire. If we can't bring stability based on liberal democracies and based on prosperous free market economies to these countries, all our other efforts are going to fail. But if we succeed in that, and we, primarily they, with our help, that's not enough. Then we must have global cooperation, a free trading arrangement that includes everyone, strengthen reinforced United Nations, the rule of the law, not only in the life of the societies and the countries internally, but also the rule of the law in international relations. And on all of these fields you can see that prospects are indeed better than they have probably ever been. But we aren't there yet. And we'll probably have to spend most of the 1990s making certain that we do realize the prospect. We should always be aware of the dangers of failure. The new world order is a possibility. It wasn't a possibility in the past, but it will require a lot of effort during the 1990s to turn it into real reality.
Regardless, it's getting so dangerous that they
I just saw another plane coming in from the side. Yeah, so that's the second explosion. You can see the plane come in just from the right-hand side of the screen. So this looks
Defense Secretary Dick Cheney has approved a revised draft of a policy document on the New World Order. The Pentagon is backing off a controversial earlier draft and has abandoned a one superpower strategy. This would have had the U.S. aim to contain rivals for leadership such as Japan and Germany. The final document puts more emphasis on international alliances and organizations.
Today is May 1st, 1992. The subject of this video message is the UNCED Earth Summit, the meeting which is to begin on June 1st, 1992 in Rio de Janeiro. The acronym UNCED stands for the United Nations Committee for Environment and Development. It is pronounced UNCED, and perhaps indicating the secret agenda of this meeting. This is the logo of the Earth Summit. This is not a dove in their Earth Summit logo. It is a hand, and the hand is holding the world with the slogan, "In our hands," alongside of it. In whose hands? Who is the we in this motto? The hands of the world order. These elitists convened this UNCED meeting in the first place, and for a bad purpose. This video will show strong evidence that the persons running the UNCED Earth Summit are actually setting a net to place the power over the Earth and its peoples into their hands. Brave, bold deeds by the citizenry are needed quickly. Once a government signs their treaties, their citizens are, de jure, in the hands of the world order. There's that motto again, in our hands. Whose hands? The same world order families that planned World War I and World War II, that tricked the third world countries to borrow funds and rack up enormous debts. The same world order that stole much of the money borrowed by Africans and other nations and hid it in Geneva banks. They are the persons who financed Hitler, manufactured the Holocaust, and managed to blame the terrible deeds on the German people. They can be credited with manipulating famines in Ethiopia and elsewhere, and purposely creating war and debt to bring societies into their control. The world order crowd are not a nice group of people. My name is George Hunt. I'm speaking to you from a video studio in Boulder, Colorado. I have attended some of the meetings and caucuses leading to the Unsaid Earth Summit. I am a business consultant and a college teacher in small business management. I own an environment company too, and am very familiar with the environment hypocrisy that the world order crowd has taken over the environment movement. I am aware of their plans. Please pardon me as I read my script. I'm not a professional actor, and my memory will not serve me with the things that I want to say. The world environment movement will soon be in the hands of the world order if you and others do not respond with action after you view this videotape. Action may constitute showing this to 5 others. It may constitute showing it to a judge down the street or a city councilman who you know in your town. Pray for guidance, hoping that something good might come of your actions. Somebody is going to set the spark off. I really feel that it is not too late. When I served as an official host at a key environment meeting in Denver, Colorado in 1987, I was surprised to see David Rockefeller, Edmund de Rothschild, Secretary of State Baker, then Secretary of the Treasury, Maurice Strong, Waste Company Chairman and EPA Administrator William Ruckelshaus, UN Secretary General in Geneva, McNeil, and various World Bank and IMF officials there.
Yeah. Hey, tell me about it. The drought out there. There's no pot anywhere.
Yeah, you want to watch your face or anything? What we got to say? You alright, Rob?
Robert, you set? Yes, I am. Scott, you set?
Yes.
Bill, you ready?
Yep. Bill, well, thanks for agreeing to the interview. First of all, a little bit about your background. You had extensive military service for many years prior to 1970, where a certain aspect of that military service kicked upstairs, so you were able to see certain things that you were not able to see beforehand. Would you tell us a little bit about that?
It actually started much longer in my past than that. I was reared in a military family. My father's an Air Force colonel. He's retired now. He was a command pilot. And as a child, I remember sitting around the pilots at our house sitting around the kitchen table, talking about their exploits in the cockpit, what they had seen in the skies, and some of that talk involved UFOs, and what some of them called Foo Fighters. And I traveled all over the world, lived on military bases for most of my life. I was really an indoctrinated individual, you might say. I was as establishment as you could get, as gung-ho, pro-government, pro-America, pro-military. And that's why I went into the military, because that had been so much of my life. I went into the Air Force. I was in the Strategic Air Command for 4 years as an aircraft and missile hydraulic technician, which is, I worked on the pneumatic and hydraulic systems of B-52 bombers, KC-135 aircraft, and Minuteman missiles. I had a secret security clearance. That's where I saw my first atomic bomb. I mean, we worked around on these planes, especially the ones on the alert pad, were always loaded, ready to go drop these bombs at a moment's notice.
What, my plant? Smoked it. Hey, of course it should be legal. Yeah. Look, if Christ had turned straw into pot instead of water into wine, we'd all be smoking up a communion. Yeah, oh yeah, for sure. Okay, see you, Mom.
But while I was in the Air Force, I met sergeants, men who were older than me, and had been in the Air Force for quite a while, told me that they had participated in projects that had recovered